welcome to Scared and Confused Hearts of Iron 4, Episode 1. I am William, so let's get started. I chose the Guangxi Clique just before I started. I was having a look around. I just finished a playthrough with Turkey and Australia, and one of the things both of those have in common, well, maybe not so much Turkey, but definitely Australia, is a pretty low recruitable population. So I wanted to pick a minor power that had a lot of population, but wasn't really all that strong off the beginning. So the Guangxi Clique has a core population of 50 million, which puts them really high up on the charts. They start off with a decent chunk of resources, but not really diverse. Like there's a lot of steel, aluminum, and maybe something else. But we start off in an interesting position. We're surrounded by the ginormous China, who I think whenever I was looking at the charts, has 350 million population, so around 7 times bigger. Japan's obviously a massive threat, and we have some allied powers to the south and east. And of course Russia to the north. So I'm going to play on Iron Man. I'm going to play with historical AI focuses. I toyed with the idea of going for non-historical, but I don't know, I just thought for the first kind of playthrough I might as well just do historical just to get going. Yeah, those are some of the other games I was playing. Might as well save it to the cloud. Iron Man Guangxi Clique. So I looked online. I think these guys start with 2 research slots, which isn't great, but we will start working up, and they obviously start with the generic focus trees. Again, not great, but it is the one thing that's good about the generic focus tree, I don't know if it's really good or not, is that it's pretty small, so you do get through to the kind of late game, if you want to call it that, focuses pretty quickly, and you can get working on the continuous focuses early on. Not really sure if it's a benefit, but it is something to consider, although the industry tree is really lacking when compared to the custom focus trees that major powers and the Commonwealth get. So we'll start off with, actually, what should we start off with? Let's figure out what I want to do. So obviously I start off with a pretty huge manpower. 720,000 is not bad off the start, but especially considering I only have volunteer only, so that's 1.5% of the 1.5% of the available manpower. I think if you move it up to limited conscription, which actually has no negative effects on your economy or anything else, that gives you an extra %, so you'll see this rise. So if 1.5, I mean, like, it'll rise another 500,000 easily just by getting this. And if we move down to extensive conscription, which is only 10% trading time, so it doesn't even hit your economy, and you can double that, and you'll end up somewhere in the 2 or 3 millions. So that's probably what it'll end up. So I don't think manpower will be a huge problem, and like if it is, then we can move on to service by requirement and move that up to, like, we can get this going to incredible amounts of manpower. So I don't think we have like any cores or anything anywhere. Yunnan. Because we're working on historical AI focuses, China is likely to annex or whatever, integrate the Chinese independence over here. I won't, of course, accept, because that would be the end of the game. I wouldn't really want to do that. So we'll probably try and stay independent. If we have a look at the focus trees, the generic focus trees have a lot of manpower given to fascist miners, which kind of is a really interesting part of the generic focus trees, because you don't see that in a lot of the new focus trees. You don't see a lot of manpower, but this gives you 7% manpower, and like you see here, with a base population of, I think it says there, yeah, 50.18 million, 1% of that is like, what, 500,000 or something along those lines. So getting, yeah, it's around 500,000. So 5% is like 2.5 million, and then you get another million just from this. You can get 3.5 million extra manpower and just spam out a ton of divisions. Otherwise, we could go down to this tree. I found it's not a lot of fun to play, especially not a lot of fun to watch, unless you're playing with like like a co-op game with friends. Intervention, I don't really feel like it. So let's just do like, you know, the generic play as a minor and go fascist or communist. For communist, you get a lot of political power. I'm pretty sure you don't. Yeah, you don't get that quite on the fascist tree. You do get a lot of political power from going down here. 400, 550. So it does blast you off in your trees here, so you can quickly get your advisors decked out and your extra tech bonuses for your research and production, and maybe even change some of your laws on exports and stuff. So, but the problem is that I don't really see a lot of reason to go down the communist tree other than the alliances you could possibly pick up. The fascist tree just seems so much more powerful in pretty much every aspect. Well, I guess only the military aspect, but this doesn't really help you in any way. Like, political correctness, subversive activities, I mean, that's good in multiplayer. That'd be good in multiplayer, but not so good in single player. Not a lot of AI does subversive activities. Indoctrination, national unity, +5. If you're getting invaded, that's good, but if you're playing on 5%, you know, you're probably already lost if you're, you know, hanging on to your last 5% of your country anyways, so getting an extra 5% is not really that great. And division recovery rate, I'm pretty sure that's also, or something similar is on this side. I guess it's just during training time. The division recovery rate's actually pretty good, but mainly the big bonus of this tree is the 550 political power, whereas on this side it's 7% population, so I think we'll end up going down the fascist tree. So let's actually go for a pretty quick move down to nationalist focus to see if we can't start maybe buddying up to Japan. I haven't quite. Maybe we can buddy up for now. We'll see. Military factories, we have 1 military factory. That's not very impressive. Let's put both of them into military equipment. Not like we can do anything else anyways. We have no dockyards. That's pretty depressing. And we have 2 civilian factories. Obviously, the best thing to do off the start is to just, for the first few years anyways, is to build civilian factories for the most part, to just deck out your economy. Of course, to supplement that, you can invade other countries and take their factories, which is by far the most efficient way of of gaining new factories. So I'm not sure if these guys are poorly equipped. What do we have here? If we unpause this, we might get to see if we have some logistics problems, like if our units aren't very equipped. They only have 80 weapons, so I'd assuming, yeah, so we're actually not that far off where we need to be, just a few hundred. So we'll wait for that to come out before we recruit any new units. Start with 9 divisions. It's not bad. We have no general. That's interesting. So we'll get a nice level 1 general. Generals do gain skill ups faster than field marshals, so if you can, try not to promote your generals. If you need to do a big attack front, then try and do it in, like, you know, half your, 1 general here and 1 general there, as opposed to 1 field marshal. It's always a good idea. So we're not fascist. We can't make any moves on our allies just yet. We need to have a pretty high tension in order to do that. So let's just speed up the game here. I usually play the first little bit on 5th speed, just to kind of get, get through the beginning slog. I'll probably have to slow that down, especially since I'm recording. We'll probably have to slow that down at some point, probably by the beginning of World War II, or maybe a little bit earlier. We'll have to turn it down to 4th speed. I know that even without recording, once you're in the middle of World War II and thousands of units are moving across the map all at the same time, usually having it on 5th speed actually doesn't increase the speed over 4th speed and just makes things a lot, what's the word, longer, jittier? Yeah, jittery. So usually just putting on 4th speed and just going for the little bit slower and more reliable pace is a little more preferable. I usually just play on 5th speed and just make use of the pause button excessively. So we're going to get 120 quick political power off that, which will allow us to quickly move into Fascist Demagogue. We'll do that one. We'll move to collectivist ethos. Not that we actually have any democratic leaning anyways, but we want to move quickly to the fascist leaning, especially since we don't start with any fascist presence whatsoever. So we'll get down to here and get that extra 0.1 fascism support, and then we'll start moving down these industrial trees. So another 140 days for those two to be completed. Technologies. I mean, I didn't talk about it, but I normally start by just working out industrial technologies, especially on minor countries when you only have 2 research slots. You really can't afford to be skimping on your industrial technologies. Major countries, you know, they might be able to drop, you know, 1 or 2 industrial techs and work on their tanks for, you know, for half a year, but whenever you're small and you only have 2 slots, you really need to work on your industry right away. So we're going to do that. Start building up some sort of efficiency. Oh, there's our national focus done. Nationalism focus, let's start that right away. Machine tools, move that straight into... We barely have any factories, so when choosing which industrial path to go down, generally the idea that I've found through research and through my own experiences is if you start off with a lot of factories and a huge industrial base, concentrated industry is pretty much always the way you go. You could also pick concentrated industry if you know you're going to have rapid early expansion, like before, let's say 1939, 1940, you're going to have a lot of industry coming in. For example, on Turkey, I picked concentrated industry because I knew it was going to be expanding into Greece, Romania, you know, Yugoslavia, all those pretty high industrial concentration countries really quick off the beginning, and that way you can get really good use out of this. But in general, I don't have a ton of expansion options, and the expansion options I do have aren't really high industrial concentration. Like, you know, if I invade my neighbor in Chinese country, they're probably only going to have 2 or 3 factories like I do. So having the ability to protect my factories, which isn't not really why I'm picking it, it's more picking it for the retention and production efficiency, retention, and base. So we're going to go for dispersed industry. And the other reason you might want to pick dispersed industry is if you think you're going to be bombed. German Reich, you know, you could pick concentrated industry for the fast industry, you know, really high efficiency outputs, but you might also want to pick dispersed if you think, you know, the fighters of the Allies are going to be a problem, which they definitely are for any Axis player. Okay, we've already moved up 10% fascist points. Let's see what Japan's at. They're at advanced torpedoes. So, I didn't realize their tree's so small. It's almost smaller than mine. Modify government. So let's actually pause this. Oops. Pause this quickly. We have 158, so maybe we can work on something. Conscription. I don't think we need to waste that just yet. Free trade. We barely have any resources like we're using anyways because we only have 2 military factories. Might as well get that started. If you did not know, it's pretty much always, as long as you can afford it with your convoys and your civilian factories, like to trade away, it's almost always more beneficial to go free trade just because you get that extra 5% factory or 15% factory output and minus 10% research time and construction speed and doctor output. It's really powerful. Export focus and limited exports, again, it depends. I'd rather not go down here just because you lose a lot of research speed and a lot of factory output, which you might be able to do as a large country who starts off with 5 research slots, but as a small country you can't afford to lose the 15 or the 10% research bonus you get from this. Okay, so we've worked out this. It's only half a year, a little bit under half a year ahead of time, which is kind of like where I cap out ahead of time bonuses at. So we'll get advanced machine tools rolling. Focus, that's probably the next thing that's coming up. Yeah, nationalism focus is done. So now we're getting fascism support a little faster. I don't think we need to worry too much about this tree just yet until we actually convert to fascism. And until that point, let's work on industrial effort. This speed will start to slow down at around 20 or 25%, I can't remember. But we should start having a fascist takeover within a year, maybe. How is our production doing? We start to catch up, so let's start recruiting some units, seeing as we have so much manpower. Each one of these needs 400. You know what, we'll produce 2 for now and see how that works out. We'll also have a constant 2 units being produced every however many months on that little city. We'll see, like, at the end of the recruitment if we have enough to sustain 2 units being constantly produced, or maybe we can put in a few more. That's rolling along just fine. Nothing's really happening. We do have these 3 allied bases. Hong Kong, which has 1.15 million population just there. Guangzhou and Macau. Okay. These places aren't that important. Hong Kong is quite the city, though. It'd be nice if we could get that back at some point. We'll make that a goal. But what is going on up there? I'm not actually sure. I've never really played this side. Well, I've played on this side, like I said, I just played Australia, but never really focused on what was going on in China. No idea what this means. Maybe someone can let me know. We'll see. Anyways, I have a national focus to pick. Let's do construction effort. Get those extra civilian factories. I'd like to invade China. You know, Japan takes down the north and the coast. Maybe I can get in and steal some of this land in here. I mean, the coast is probably the wealthiest section, but if we can get, like, yeah, in here, even these 3 provinces here, that'd be great. Or 3 states, I should say. Units are coming along. First ones are going to be trained up and ready to go. Our techs are coming along just nicely. We have a 50% research bonus, so we can immediately get dispersed industry level 2 in 80 days. So we got 2 divisions, we can equip them right away. And oh, I forgot to set them as that was a mistake. Okay, so our current divisions have 4 infantry in them. So as a rule of thumb, I much prefer to run big divisions rather than large quantity divisions. So I'm gonna, if I can, eventually spike these up quite a lot. I'd like to do that. Okay, let's do 4 this time. Let's do unlimited. I don't know why it wasn't unlimited before. But what I'll hope to do is we'll start exercising this army, and we'll start working on some army experience. Oh, also I've got some political power I need to spend. We can't do that yet. Probably the figurehead, that's not bad. Nothing in here really makes me think that I need it. National unity is not important just yet. Industrial concern, maybe. Let's work on electronics. Have a long research time. I usually like to do research electronics just because while they aren't as important as industry, they definitely do take a long time to research. Okay, so fastest party's at 31, and wow, I think you can already see that the amount that I'm getting from these is definitely being scaled down quite a lot, down to 33%. But we should still be able to make it by, like, you know, the end of the year. We should be fastest. I think that's about good for one episode, so we'll wrap it up here for now. We'll keep playing. Next episode, we'll see if we can't finish our Chinese domination. maybe we actually start some moves other than just researching a national focus. Yeah, well, anyways, see you next time.